Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial for my light, casual, and royaling arrangement of the hymn Savior Like a Shepherd Lead Us. In this tutorial I'm going to go over any potential trouble spots and give you some insight into my thinking as the arranger. So this arrangement is honestly one of my most favorite to play because it is so much fun to play and there's so much about it that's really satisfying for us pianists. The chords are very rich, and some of these runs that go into the choruses, when you nail those, it just feels so good to do it. And it's really a lot of fun. There's a lot of variety to it, tempo changes and lots of different colors, and it's just very fulfilling to perform this. And I hope you feel the same way. It does present some challenges, and my plan is to go through those. I will just say from the outset, big picture, the thinking behind this arrangement is that it would be like a kind of bubbling brook, or like a stream or something that's very fast flowing, but it's not like a river where it's white water and you're risking your life to go out on it. It's very gentle, very shallow, very pleasant to listen to. But it's very fast flowing, and so it's kind of like if you were on a nice creek for tubing, if you've ever done that. The message of the hymn is Savior Like a Shepherd Lead Us. It's a hymn of dependence, and you're following the leading. You're following God's leading throughout your life, and so it's kind of like you're riding a nice gentle creek on a tube on a nice warm summer day, and you're just following the Spirit's leading in your life. And so I tried to capture that kind of idea with this arrangement. And so you want to, because it's a temptation for us pianists to play fast tempos loudly, you want to not do that. You want to hold yourself back from doing that and keep it very light and airy. And you definitely want to play it at speed, and you definitely want there to be energy, but you want it to be light. You don't want it to be heavy. This isn't a powerful, bombastic arrangement. It's a light, casual, roiling kind of arrangement, so the energy is sort of bubbling below the surface. So with that being said, I'll just walk through this arrangement and hit some of the potential trouble spots. Right from the beginning, we're introduced with what will probably be the biggest challenge of the arrangement, and that's the rhythmic complexity throughout it. So in the left hand, you have this. It's a pretty thick chord. It's a E flat suspension. And it's a complex rhythm, and all by itself is very easy, obviously. But then you add this right hand part, and I'll just say, when it comes in here at measure 2, don't let it stand out. It's not foreground, it's not a melody, it's just adding texture. So don't let it turn into like a, that's just annoying. Let it blend in with what your left hand's doing. But it is syncopated. It is hitting all those in-between beats. And so that can be a challenge. And then certainly when you bring the melody in, and those two elements continue, see, I know I've already messed it up. But it's challenging. It's tricky. The biggest challenge there is not only getting the rhythms, but the letting the melody stand out and not get lost in that accompaniment. So you're literally wanting to play the melody louder than the other parts, even though in the same hand you're playing the melody, you've got that syncopated rhythm. So if all of that is a challenge to you, then my best suggestion is really a cliche one. It's a very simple one. It's one you'll hear me say all the time, but sometimes going to the basics and being cliche, well, sometimes cliche things are cliche for a reason, and that's because they're just so foundational, and that is to slow down. To play this at a tempo that you can, and that means that literally, if you can only play it without mistakes at this tempo, then start there. Figure out what that tempo is on your metronome, play through a section at that speed, bring it up 2, 3 dB, not dB, sorry, BPM, and just incrementally play it at speeds that you can, and just slowly bring up the tempo until you're comfortable with the new tempo, and then you knock it up just a couple more BPM until you get it up to speed, and then you move on to the next section. This is literally what I do whenever I practice anything that I can't just sight read at tempo. I slow it down, I find the tempo I can play it, figure out what that is on my metronome, I slowly build up the speed, and it's a lot of time and it's tedious at first, but once you get it up to speed, you never lose it. You always have it. It's the most thorough, best way I know of practicing, and it makes you the most confident too, because you really, really know it. If you feel it in your hands, and so that's really my suggestion. It's going to be for this section, and it's going to be for the next one when our tempo speeds up. Just take it slow and just slowly speed it up. All right, speaking of that next section, at measure 19, we have a pretty massive tempo change. We are almost double timing it. I might have said double time, but it's not quite double timing it. You're going from 74 BPM to 136 beats per minute, and again, as I mentioned, the temptation is for us to make it loud, and I've done two things to indicate I do not want you to play it louder. That is, in the tempo instruction, I'd say much faster, but still light. Still want a light touch and a light dynamic, and I also give you a little courtesy piano dynamic. We're still playing softly. So it should really, I'm gonna play it an octave higher, it should really feel, it should communicate that roiling, bubbling stream kind of effect. And then you do crescendo here in those 4 measures, beginning at 22 to a forte dynamic. So you do get to bring out some volume there, but it's gradual, and you don't want to start there. You want to start quiet. And again, that's a challenge. Just take it slow, and you can do it. When you get to measure 26 at verse 2, you're in a register, a really low register. And that's challenging, because with an accompaniment as fast and as active as this one is, trying to play the melody that's also below middle C, it's really hard. And so you got to really work. If you're not intentional about it, that melody is going to get lost in the accompaniment. And so again, taking it slowly. One thing you do have going for you is that in this verse, the melody lands on the beats, and most of the accompaniment is in the offbeat. So you're never having to like play the melody at the same time as the accompaniment and try to make it louder than the accompaniment. One thing I will say that I think of when I'm playing this in that section is I'm actually literally thinking in my head, keep the accompaniment at like a pianissimo dynamic, as quiet as I can. And then I'm playing the melody like at a forte. Playing that accompaniment at like a pianissimo up to speed and all of that, it really gives that roiling effect. That's really cool, I think. You know, before I move on, I do have an instruction here at the beginning with pedal. And I'll just say, hey, be liberal with the pedal. Let some of the sounds, especially at the beginning when it's a little more dreamy sounding, let the pedal kind of carry over, maybe a little bit longer than you normally would. Let some of the sounds bleed a little bit to your taste, whatever sounds good to you and works on the piano you're playing with. The pedal is a tool. It's not just a tool to help you play legato or to give you a fuller sound. It's also a tool for texturizing. And so if there's times where you think it's appropriate to let the sounds bleed and give you a dreamy effect, then go for it. I certainly do that when I'm playing it. Okay, when we get to the first chorus, we get to what is really the heart of the left-hand accompaniment. Actually, we play that sooner in the arrangement, but I'm on this page 3, and so that's what I'm looking at. The voicing I have in here is very intentional. So in the left hand, you have these half notes that are played by your pinky, the bass notes, and then the accompaniment, the chords filling out the voices there in the middle, are in quarter notes. And it's written that way intentionally. I do not, watch my left hand, I do not want you to play where you're bouncing like this. I want that bass note to be held like that. Now that is going to get you in spots like I just played, measure 45, where if you don't have a lot of finger independence and finger strength, that fingering is hard. In order to play those notes while holding down that C, it's tricky, and it might require some practice if you're not comfortable with it. But I really want you to try to not let up those bass notes, to let them be held. Because even though you're holding down the pedal and the sounds will continue through those 2 beats, it's different. It does come across differently if you can hold them down. Not only if you accidentally lift the pedal, or you've got a junky pedal on your piano or something and it's not holding properly, then you lose those notes, but it does come across to the listener when you hold the notes, even if the pedal's down, that you're physically holding those notes. It lets that bass note carry more strongly and carry through all of those beats more strongly. And so if you can do it, I highly suggest that you do that, and that dynamic of playing just continues for it's really the heartbeat of the accompaniment throughout the arrangement. So even when you get to measure 56 on page 4, we get to this instrumental section. Even there, you've got the left hand. You really want it to sound. So, all right, we have a couple more subito dynamics. I don't use these a lot in my arrangements, but this one, it's a feature of it, where you're building up in dynamic and then you're instantly changing dynamics, and that itself can be a challenge. And again, just take it slow if you're struggling with it. But it literally means, if you don't know what it means, subito, S-U-B period for short, literally means suddenly. So you're building up suddenly piano dynamic. And it literally, in addition to practicing it slowly, when I am playing it up to speed, even when I'm comfortable with it, the best way that I know to perform a subito dynamic is to mentally be thinking about that dynamic long before it comes, maybe a measure or even 2 measures before I arrive at this point. I'm already imagining how it's going to feel and how I'm going to literally perform that dynamic, so that as soon as it arrives, I'm not surprised and my hands are ready to go. Because going from a forte to a piano instantly like that is literally a physiological change in the way that you're playing it. I'm shaping my hands differently, I'm putting different amount of energy into the fingers, I'm making them more or less rigid, depending on where I'm at in the hand position. And if I'm thinking about all of that ahead of time, before I land on that beat, then I can get there immediately. So it's a mental thing, really. Mental preparation to perform those subitos really well. All right, we have at measure 76, returning to the original tempo, and we're only there for 3 measures. And then we go back to tempo 2, which is that 136. And that's what that tempo 1 and tempo 2, if you've not seen that before, that's what that means. It just means you're going back to the original tempo, and then this is going back to the fast tempo that was introduced secondarily. I don't think there's anything new in terms of technique. So the last thing that I will address is the very end. And if you didn't see me perform in the demo video, or if it's still confusing to you, seeing the sheet music here, how I perform that ending, it is unique. It's really cool. It's a technique that I like to employ from time to time. So if I start at that measure, that last second to last measure, I'm going, and then I hit the last four and then I let up everything except the E flat and the B flat, like that. I also let up the pedal on the downbeat of that last measure. So if I play it at speed, so when I lifted my hand, I don't know if you could see it, but I also lifted the pedal. I'll do it again. And if you give that last and a little extra oomph, like maybe make it an accent, you don't want to pound it. You don't want it to pop out. That's not what you want to do, right? But you just make sure you give it enough oomph that when you let off those notes, that E flat and B flat will carry its sound. Then that's how you do it. It's kind of a cool way to end a song. And if you've got a really nice resonant piano, that will just carry, that sound will just carry, and I think it'll be pretty impressive. Certainly satisfying, again, as this arrangement is to perform. Okay, I hope that was helpful. Yeah, this is a really, really fun arrangement. I had a blast recording it. In fact, I did extra takes in making the demo video for this because I just so enjoyed playing it. I didn't want to stop. So that's how I feel about it. I hope you do as well. And I hope that, hope this arrangement is a blessing to you and that this tutorial was helpful. And I will see you in the next one.